A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for creating time for us tonight on the second last day of the month of March, the year 2022. We got a special bulletin lined up ahead for you.
Never in the recorded history of this country has the burden of living been this heavy. A global pandemic, erratic rainfall, and raging conflict in the Far East have all made life unbearable for Kenyans.
The unbowed spirit of Kenyans remains strong despite tremendous odds. But have we exhausted all the bows in our quiver?
Well, today, Kenyans are looking for answers to their solutions and questions. Kenyans are looking for solutions for their answers and answers for their problems.
Tonight we start a two-day special coverage on the cost of living in Kenya and the solutions.
My name is O'Brien Kimani, and welcome to this special coverage on the cost of living here in Kenya.
And my name is Serfine Achieng. Let's first get our top stories. Shocking inflation. We begin our two-day comprehensive coverage of the country's near economic crisis. BBI appeal case. All eyes on the Supreme Court as Kenyans await verdict. Utilize unclaimed cash. Financial Assets Authority challenged to make use of funds. Once again, welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Ann Wangeshi.
My name is O'Brien Kimani. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle, at KBC Channel 1. Please get in touch with us. And of course, remember, the hashtag tonight that we are using is hashtag choking inflation.
All right, and we begin straight away. The kadogo economy is a term that refers to the sale of commodities in smaller packages that retail for as little as 10 shillings.
Well, the term was coined by former president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, in the late 1990s, when he was pushing manufacturers and retailers to make their goods more affordable among the poor, especially in the informal settlements. But as Kamche Menza found out during a visit to one of the informal settlements in Nairobi, the kadogo economy has not been spared by the choking inflation. Traders are now grappling with finding a balance between serving low-income earners and making profit.
We set out for a visit to Kinyago Kanuku slums in Kamukunji, Nairobi County. It is almost evening, and our first stop was at John Waduka's shop. We noticed residents flocking here to purchase some basic items for their evening meal. Most of them have come to buy cooking oil. Here they call it salad. However, even in this kadogo economy, the quantity is not the same as a few months ago.
Zamani tulikuwa napata salad ya shilingi 20 mafuta kupikia. Siku hizi hiyo 20 hakuna. Tunaanza na shilingi 50. Hii ni mafuta ya yellow, inaitwa Samli. Kilo moja sasa hivi tunauza na 260. 260 na tulikuwa tunauza na 100. Customer wanalalamika kila mara. Kila siku ni complain. Wengi wao hata imekuwa ni kama tunawafanyao kazi, tunawakopesha sana. Baka unafika mahali jioni unakuta hauna pesa kwenda kununua kitu nyingine.
And not just that, John tells us the previous 10 shilling salad quantity that customers are used to is no longer available.
Hakuna 10, hakuna ya 20.
Hata mtu akikupa unaona kama ni dharau. Juu sasa salad unanunua 5,700, itakuwaje utatoaje ya 10?
But even then, this quantity for customers like Elizabeth will only last them 1 or 2 days.
Nanunua mafuta ya mboga. Lakini ni kidogo nikinunua naenda napikia mara moja tu inaisha. Nilikuwa nanunua ya 20, leo nanunua ya 30, naenda na wake inaisha hivyo.
Nilikuwa nanunua ya 20, sasa nanunua ya 40 ya 30.
Kerosene, which is a common source of energy here, has also become unaffordable. Wamaduka says this is a trickle-down effect from prices of most commodities at the wholesalers that have also gone up. But raising the prices for customers who literally live from hand to mouth is not an option for Pauline Nyawira, a cereals trader in the slums of Kinyago.
Sasa njuku ni kijiji, wamesoea na 100. Na sasa imekuja imepanda na 200 juu. Kama ni mchele sasa njuku kila mtu huku ni kijiji, sasa hakuna mtu anaweza nunua 120 na wausia tu na 100.
This subjects her to losses or less profit.
Kiuza ngunia moja unapata tu faida ni 100. Kitambo unapata 300, 200.
Retaining customers, they say, remains key as most threaten to leave if the prices increase. And while we were there, we witnessed Maureen Achieng, a grocer, lose a customer who was not willing to dig deeper to buy a tomato.
Nyanya ni kidogo, ana complain na ni hivyo vile tulienda soko tumeuziwa bei kali. Sasa hii nyanya zenye tulikuwa tunauza 310, sasa hii ni 3 mbao.
The story is the same for most traders in this informal settlement.
Wanasema nimepandisha makaa na wanapata ni ngumu.
Hata unaona unauza hasara. Unaona ukipandisha, sijuzi nilipimia customer, sasa nikimpimia leo anasema ni kidogo, sijui nini, tutahama. Unaona kuna challenge.
Ngine anakuja mafuta taa 10. Unashindwa huu mafuta taa 10 utampimia namna gani? Inabidi unapima kwa kiwango kidogo ili aende tu atengeneze watoto chakula wasikose kitu ya kula.
Mimi nimefanya biashara kwa muda mrefu, lakini raundi maisha yamekuwa magumu. Kila kitu kimekuwa times 2.
Wamepungua juu sasa kama zamani nikafungua kama zamani nikafunga saa 4, nafunga saa 4. Na sasa mpaka saa 7 za usiku niuza viazi. Na lazima niziuze nipate at least nipate kitu ya kupata watu ya asubuhi.
Mimi sasa hizi kwa nyumba sinunui maziwa, napika sturungi asubuhi ama nipike uji. Na hiyo uji mara mingi tunaweka chumvi.
And in an economy where the participants are completely dependent on each other for survival, they had one rallying call for urgent solutions.
Kitu mimi ndawaomba kama serikali warudishe bei ya chakula chini, sababu hiyo ndio saizi inakandamiza mwananchi wa chini.
Mafuta ni mafuta kwanza yanatupeleka sana liko juu, watupunguze mafuta.
And as the price of the basic commodities continue to rise, the question in the minds of many is for how long will they have to persevere these tough times? Kamche Menza for Prime Edition at Kinyago Kanungu Slums in Kamukunji, Nairobi.
All right, thank you, Kamche, for that report. And now, with the skyrocketing cost of essential commodities, Kenyans, especially those in lower income brackets, have been forced to forgo some of their favorite meals.
Well, for them, the shopping basket is literally getting lighter with fewer goods despite spending more.
Prices of basic food commodities like maize and wheat flour, milk and cooking oil have continued to rise, denting the pockets of low and middle income households. 2 months ago, you could buy a 2 kg packet of maize flour at 117 shillings, but now it's up to 126 shillings. A 500 ml packet of milk that was going for 50 shillings on average is now going for 55 shillings. Cooking oil price has gone up by 150 shillings. An egg that was 12 shillings 2 months ago now goes for 15 to 17 shillings. A litre of water was 45 shillings. Now the price is up by 5 shillings. Many Kenyans say due to the spike in the cost of basic commodities, they're struggling to put food on the table.
Vitu vimepandishwa sana. Kwa mwananchi wa kawaida inakuwa very hard. Manake sasa vile mtu wale wa kutumia 50 per day 100 they can't make it.
Saa hizi maisha ni ngumu, hata bei ya mafuta imeenda juu, bei ya gesi imeenda juu, kila kitu. Sasa na uchumi pia, pesa pia hakuna. Haionekani kwa sisi wananchi wa kawaida.
Mambo ya maisha, hali ya maisha imekuwa ngumu kuanzia vile mafuta imeongezeka. Tunasikia uchungu sana tukiwa Kenya, na tunaomba serikali kwamba ifanye jambo. Kwanza kama mafuta imeongezwa, ni kila kitu imeenda kuwa expensive. Ukienda kwa supermarket unapata kwamba uwezo ukakimu hali ya maisha. Ukiwa na 1,000 ni kama uko na shilingi 100.
Some say their monthly budget cannot buy as much as it could few months ago, pushing them to cut on their favorite meals.
Tunaomba kama serikali inaweza kuangalia bei ya mafuta irudishe chini, pia iangalie bei ya nafaka, vyakula vya mwananchi wa kawaida itakuwa bora.
Mungu aguse serikali ya our president to do something. Yes, if he can do something. Hata kama kuna mambo ya election, it can also help. Anasaidia Wakenya wenzake.
They say if the government does not intervene and control the prices of essential commodities, many Kenyans will continue to suffer. As Kenyans continue to experience economic hardships, they are calling on the government to reduce the prices of essential commodities so that they can manage the cost of living. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Well, one thing is for sure, that 1,000 shillings is not what it used to be about 6 months ago. Just ask yourself this question, I mean, a packet of milk that was going for 50 shillings is now going for 65 shillings. And as if that is not bad enough, some retailers have started to ration the number of packets you can buy. Like just the other day, I went to one of the supermarkets in town, and the most you could buy were 4 packets. So those were about 4 liters.
No wonder Kenyans are resorting to survival mechanisms such as you go to a supermarket, then you tell somebody to buy 4 packets on your behalf, and then you get to give them the cash to pay, and then you meet outside and do the exchange. I mean,
interesting times, definitely. Yeah. Well, the cost of living continues to rise through the 2022 due to an increase in global fuel prices and disruption of the global supply chain.
The war in Ukraine has led to a jump in oil prices, which in February hit $100 per barrel for the first time since 2014.
Well, tonight we'll review how the dynamics of costly fuel has affected Kenya's households and national logistics.
The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS, in its latest inflation data showed the cost of living is to 5.07% in February from 5.39% in January 2022, despite a price increase in several food commodities. However, a month after the report, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, stopped government subsidies on the cost of fuel. The impact of this is such that the upward fuel review in the month of March by 5 shillings on the cost of super petrol and diesel prices has resulted to further push up the cost of living in Kenya.
Kenya has a competitive petroleum and gas market comprising of 71 registered oil marketing companies and 1,665 registered retail stations as at 2020.
The Kenya Transporters Association, KTA, has asked its members to review their transport costs by a minimum of 5%, with the spiral effect likely to be felt in many sectors. The body notes that the fuel component cost contributes to 35% of direct transporters' costs and indirectly affects other costs like spares and tires, since they are all imported and have to be transported.
To lower the prices of fuel and everything concerning oil, so that kila kitu kikisafirishwa kinasafirishwa kwa bei ya chini, sukari irudi chini, kila kitu rudi chini, hata familia zetu zifurahie.
Road transport accounts for more than 70% of deliveries in Kenya. At the same time, some Kenya Association of Manufacturers CAM member firms announced a price increase on commodities to cover the high in prices. Bamburi Cement has announced a price increase of up to 10% on its Nguvu, Tembo and Fundi brands. Matatu owners have also raised fares to different destinations by between 10 and 30%, hitting hard the wallets of an already struggling commuter.
We'll pass the cost to the consumer. Let the consumer climb to the hill or to the tallest building and scream, so that those in authority realize that they need cushioning by those subsidies that should make them pay less. We facilitate economic activities. If today we called off our services, maybe none of you would go to work if you are using a matatu.
Analysts say a combination of unmatched demand by oil producing and exporting countries and supply constraints from the Russia-Ukraine fallout has set the stage for further oil price hikes in the coming months. Following the review of monthly fuel prices by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, A litre of super petrol now retails at 134 shillings and 72 cents in Nairobi, from 129 shillings and 72 cents, while diesel goes for 115 shillings and 60 cents from 110 shillings and 60 cents. The price of kerosene, mostly used by rural and urban families for cooking and lighting, was retained at 103 shillings and 54 cents per litre. Without the partial government subsidy, consumers would have paid 155 shillings and 11 cents for a litre of petrol, and 143 shillings and 16 cents for a litre of diesel, and 130 shillings and 44 cents for kerosene. Energy analysts are warning that fuel prices will keep rising in the foreseeable future if the conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues.
Remember, you're watching this special coverage on the cost of living here in Kenya, and the hashtag is the choking inflation. Well, tighten your belt is a common advice when the economy becomes harsh.
But for the majority of low-income earners, tightening the belt further has meant foregoing even the basic of commodities.
Well, some are now having only 2 meals in a day, a third being seen as a luxury.
Robert Mwanzia makes a living by hawking sweets in the streets of Mombasa town. Mwanzia laments that life has steadily been getting difficult, diminishing his ability to purchase essential commodities, especially food.
Leo nimeingia mahali hoteli na kunywa. Mwenyewe akaniambia chai leo ni 30. Ni 30 ile pesa ya chini sana kabisa ya watu wa chini, ya wale watu tunazunguka huku mitaani. Unasikia wanaita mahasara. Leo huyu hasara alikuwa anatumia kwa 20. Ameongezewa 10. Kwa hivyo kwa mwezi ameongezewa 300. Kwa hivyo lazima maisha yataendelea kupanda juu kwa watu wengine kuchukulia ile nafasi kufanya mambo zao.
Takes breakfast and supper, skips lunch. He says the poor are the ones who bear the brunt of inflation, as they have for long been living hand to mouth.
Funga nikinunua kwa duka si vile nilikuwa kinunua 2 weeks ago. Hata kama haijaongezwa, mtu alikuwa na stoko yake ataongeza. Kwa hivyo nimekwambia hii ni decision ambayo imefika, mtu atachukulia ile decision kuumiza wale watu wengine. Sikia mafuta imepanda, kila kitu lazima ipande kwa sababu mafuta ndio kila kitu.
He says these hardships threaten the survival of families.
Hivyo unavyovisikia vingi inatokana na majukumu ya nyumbani. Wakati majukumu nyumbani imekuwa makali, mzee anatoka hajapata kitu. Akija anataka kula na kuna kitu ameacha. Bibi kule naye amezunguka kupata kitu. Katika ile nyumba watu ambao hawajakula, ndugu yangu, hata ile kulala pale kila mtu amelala kivyake. Mwingine west, mwingine north. Na hiyo west na north haitachukua wiki. Utasikia wamepigana.
He called on the government to alleviate the situation, saying tightening the belt to the extent of missing a meal is a worrying situation. From Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mwandiga.
All right, thank you, Mwandiga, for that report. Now, on that note, we are going to be taking a very short break, but remember, we are still going on with our special coverage of the inflation in just a bit. Definitely, this is something that you need to keep it right here as we listen to what Kenyans are saying about the rising cost of living and the remedial measures. Stay right here.
And I am very happy that once again I find myself in Kenya.
Nimefanya biashara kwa muda mrefu, lakini raundi hii maisha yamekuwa magumu.
Agasti nilikuwa najaza na 700, sasa hizi imekuwa ni 1400.
Despair.
I will strive to eradicate this feeling among majority of Kenyans.
We will remove the curse of poverty on Kenyans.
Promises, but Kenyans want solutions now. Where are we? How did we get here? What are the solutions? The choking inflation, a 2-day KBC special coverage on the high cost of living.
Nilipimwa hospitalini, kabainika nilikuwa na TB.
Nilianza matibabu ya TB mara moja. Nilimeza dawa zangu bila kukosa kwa muda unaofaa, kama nilivyoshauriwa na daktari.
Do not hurt that girl.
Wewe ni nani?
You don't feel the connection here.
I'd hate to lose you as a client.
They say eyes don't lie.
Mimi hiyo hainihusu. Hebu songa nipite. Soga. Get out.
Nani anataka kuwasaliti kwa nyumba yake?
Pata matibabu bila malipo katika hospitali zote za umma. Tujijali, tumalize TB. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na washirika wake.
Do you have a new story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Mwongo mmoja umekamilika. Twarejea kwa udi na uvumba, kwa vishindo si haba, nderemo na vifijo. Tulia tuli, maana mambo si kama kawaida tena, kwani kupitia runinga yako ya KBC ushapata tarehe. Vitimbi hivi karibuni.
Welcome back, and the hashtag remains the choking inflation. On Twitter, you can find me at Serfine_Achieng and also at KBC Channel 1, our official Twitter handle, and also at
O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle. Let's continue. Well, Kenya will face a major food shortage in the coming days due to below average rainfall and expensive farm inputs.
The situation has been worsened by the National Treasury's failure to reintroduce fertilizer subsidies to cushion local farmers from the high cost of the commodity.
Well, this has seen the cost of fertilizer jump to 4,800 for a 50 kg bag from 3,500 6 months ago.
Costly animal feed has also raised the prices of milk and eggs. Benson Rioba highlights the impact of the costly farm inputs on the cost of living tonight.
At the end of last year, food prices started to soar, culminating to record highs in February this year. Last year, maize millers were operating below capacity due to reduced maize stocks in the market. According to the millers, farmers were holding maize in anticipation of better prices. However, players in the maize sector said Kenya maize farmers were exporting their produce to southern Sudan due to high prices.
Currently now it's close to 3,000. And this maize now being purchased onto trucks. I cannot tell you who they are taking. Where is that maize going?
Uganda and Tanzania, where Kenya imports maize to bridge its annual deficit, were not faring any better in terms of production, with the Ugandan farmers also selling their maize to southern Sudan due to good prices.
There, Tanzania, the same, we don't get a lot of maize. So all this, in a nutshell, has contributed to a deficit, which is making the maize from Kenya, actually, to be of high demand in the neighboring countries. I understand that southern Sudan is buying at a very good.
This has seen a 90 kg bag of maize retail as high as 4,500 in some quarters, with the NCPB offering 3,500 shillings for the same quantities. The maize scarcity also affected the livestock sector that has seen the cost of production increase. According to animal feeds millers, Over 300 livestock farms have closed shop as animal keepers collapse under the high cost of feed that now constitutes over 65% of the total cost of production. Eggs have not been spared either, with a tray now retailing at 350 shillings a tray from 250 mid last year due to scarcity of the commodity in the market.
G of soya last year, a time like this, it was being sold at 65 shillings. Currently it's 120, so it's almost double the amount. So the bag that I used to buy at 2,600, it has gone up by between 500 to 700 shillings per bag of 70 kg.
Eggs from neighboring Uganda that stabilized prices in the market have reduced due to heightened surveillance at border points. The drought that hit parts of the country last year saw reduced milk production due to decreased fodder. This saw leading milk processors operate below capacity. The fodder reduction and the high cost of feeds has seen half a litre packet of milk retail at 65 shillings from an average of 50 shillings at the beginning of this year. The cost of livestock production is expected to remain high due to self-imposed embargo on soya bean export by Zambia, an increased import by China, and the increase in prices of soya in the region. The price of bread has also gone up by 30% since the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke on the 24th of February, affecting the global wheat supply chain. Kenya sources 44% of its wheat from Russia and Ukraine. With the war and the sanctions imposed on Russia, the Kenya wheat import bill has increased, with wheat landing cost increasing to $500 per ton from $400. Before the war started, Agriculture and Food Authority had placed a wheat import ban on local wheat until the local production is mopped up by millers to protect farmers.
Kabla ya watu kuleta wheat kutoka ngambo, wacha kwanza tuuze wheat yetu.
Edible oil prices have also increased, with a 5-litre cooking oil retailing at 1,500 shillings. This is a result of sunflower oil cuts by Ukraine, one of the world's leading suppliers of the oil, and weak production of crude palm oil in Malaysia due to floods. The price of foodstuff is not expected to reduce anytime soon as tensions continue to escalate and Treasury removing fertilizer subsidies. According to experts, the removal of fertilizer subsidy in the supplementary budget will see farmers reduce the acreage of food crops due to the high cost of production, or alternatively, plant without fertilizer, leading to reduced production.
If production is not checked, it means we are going to import maize. And when we import maize, Honorable Speaker, it means at the end of the day, we are going to increase the cost of production and everything is not going to work for the country.
Kabla hatujakata kauli ya kutoa msimamo wetu, waweze kutoa taarifa ya jinsi mikakati imewekwa ya kusaidia mkulima ili aweze kupata mbolea kwa bei.
Benson Droba reporting for Prime Edition.
Indeed, it has been a tough year for the agricultural sector. Let's now turn our focus to the tourism industry, where the hospitality sector has not been spared from the aftershocks of the high cost of living.
Reeling from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic that grounded their operations, domestic tourism would have been their fallback.
But as Janae Carissa reports, this option has not been brought much success in bookings, as prospective clients are cash-strapped.
A majority of hospitality industry players will not be closing for renovations during the low peak season, as they hope to maximize on domestic tourism so as to salvage losses incurred during the last 2 years. Despite their willingness to soldier on, business is yet to rise to the pre-pandemic levels, a state worsened by the hard economic times.
The moment there's a gap in our economy, there's a bump in our economy, the tourism industry feels it first.
Occupancies are not as high as they used to be. And I will tell you a fact, most of the hotels are not paying people what they used to pay them. So people are still on salary cuts.
The hospitality industry is believed to be operating at 40% bed occupancy, with the majority of the guests in for conferences.
We are edging towards 50-50 on this.
Ahead of the Easter holidays, hoteliers says even though bookings are looking up, they are not yet at pre-pandemic levels due to their dented pockets.
By February, hotels are full in Easter, but now they're not full. So why? Because money is becoming scarce.
There is no money. People cannot afford. They can't afford even fuel.
That's why there are very few people in the hotel.
Managers have therefore been forced to adopt innovative ways to relook at their costs so as to remain afloat, since the price of food, cooking gas and water has increased in recent weeks.
We are heavily investing as a hotel in sustainable tourism, which means using local products.
We are working, creatively working on a good rotation of shifts, for example, to ensure that we have only essential services running.
When the rains come and the supplies start to come back, let us reduce our rates, let us reduce the prices of milk, sugar, unga and everything down.
This has not been without reprieve. The government announced lower cost of electricity in December and other incentives. However, such incentives seem to be a drop in their ocean of challenges. The question that begs is, to what end can the sector hold on?
We would have to adjust the rates. I do not want to say increase. I would like to say adjust the rates so that they can cover up and ensure that the hotels are also making something. Otherwise, it will mean people are going to lose their jobs.
If the farmer is facilitated, we'll actually be able to generate wealth, so that then this wealth can actually be multiplied and you can actually put back the industries on production.
We've become very adept at changing with the circumstances, readjusting very quickly.
Juni Karisambele from Mombasa County.
All right, and we also observed the trends online, and Kenyans have taken to social media to vent and air out their frustrations over the surging cost of basic commodities.
Well, using different trending names, Kenyans have directed their anger towards the government, with among others catchy hashtags like Punda Amechoka and Punguza Bei Sasa. Our reporter Tess Mutai samples some of these reactions.
We live in a democratic country where we can take our issues to the streets in peaceful protest, and that is our rights as Kenyans. Instead, we are in a keyboard warrior nation where we would rather take our issues to the social media. Of late, what has been baffling Kenyans is the high cost of living. So, let's take a view of some of their social media comments.
Social media has seen hilarious, if not ridiculous, videos surfacing online of Kenyans measuring the amount of cooking oil to be used in the household in a hashtag Mafuta challenge. These videos have been going viral throughout all platforms, especially TikTok and Instagram. Cooking oil has even turned out as the new ring, as it is now being used for proposals. Has the situation gotten this dire, where people are giving out all their goods for a drop of cooking oil? Or is it just but sarcasm? As if it couldn't get any worse, this video of civilians looting cooking oil in a supermarket, it all social media platforms had.
Twitter and Facebook is not for the faint-hearted, but it is also for the creative writers. So here are some of the views on the platforms.
Hilarious tweets and messages flocked socials as well, with hashtag high cost of living. Tweet by Mwangi says, Weka 500 at the petrol station is beginning to sound like kata ya 60 kwa butchery. Crying emoji. Msupa Atoti tweeted, high cost of living ilifanya locust were left Kenya quietly. Haha, laughing emoji. Apparently, having cooking oil at the moment is a free ticket to joining the Billionaires Club, as a message from Duncan Danko says. However, there are a few who are asking hard questions instead of making fun of the situation. Ken took it to Facebook saying, Kenyans are good at complaining hashtag lower food prices, but still buy the same products instead of hashtag boycott high food prices. We are immoral and dishonest as a country. It's not even about our leaders. It's you and me. We sell products to our fellow countrymen the way we feel. We are greedy. Until the time Kenyans shall change their culture from hypocrisy to honesty, we shall continue to suffer. Hashtag high cost of living. Martin Mack says, what happened to sanity? Politics in Kenya as people sleep hungry?
One can't help but wonder, is social media the correct tool to air their views? Or Is it causing more harm than good? For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Wow, wonderful reporting there by Teresa Mutai. Indeed.
Trust Kenyans to come up with some very interesting articles on social media. For me, I think it was the guy who was just proposing with a pack of cooking oil.
It has become such a gem. I mean,
very interesting.
It's crucial things to raise, especially just less than 5 months to the general election. And I hope our leaders are watching. I hope they are getting ideas on some of the issues they should be addressing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
as we joke about it,
absolutely,
it could be a sad reality for some families.
Exactly, and we do
Kenya.
hope that the policy makers and policy implementers will definitely take a cue from today.
All right, we move this forward now on to matters drought. Drought has played a significant role in the high cost of living.
Well, with climate change having reduced the drought cycle from 5 to 2 years, food scarcity, lack of pasture for animals and water shortage have worsened over the years.
Governments today have to readjust their budgets to accommodate various interventions to the vagaries of weather.
Judith Akolo has the following report.
Over 80% of the Kenya's landmass falls under the arid and semi-arid lands in which drought is the predominant extreme phenomenon. In the last 10 years, Kenya has experienced nearly 10 drought incidents. A prolonged one that stretched from July 2011 to mid-2012 affected the entire East African region, hitting Kenya hard. In January 2014, the government declared a drought emergency as an estimated 1.6 million people risked starvation due to poor rainfall performance over the arid and semi-arid counties during the short rain season of October, November to December of 2013. From November 2016 to early 2017, the country experienced a devastating drought occasioned by the failure of the long rain season from March to May of 2016 and the failure of the October-November to December short rain season the same year. The drought extended into early 2018. Below normal rainfall in the short rain season of October, November and December in 2018 saw parts of the country affected by drought in 2019. This included West Pokot, Turkana and Baringo counties. This trend continued into 2020 when insufficient rainfall experienced during the October, November and December short rain season occasioned a prolonged drought in October 2021, with the coastal region and the southeastern Kenya reported their worst rainfall performance. The subsequent drought caused poor harvest and loss of livestock that left about 2.4 million people on the verge of starvation. President Uhuru Kenyatta, while addressing the Climate Ambition Summit, said Kenya spends 3% of her gross domestic product, GDP, in addressing impacts of climate change annually.
Kenya, just like other vulnerable countries, is experiencing frequent and intense bouts of drought and torrential rains, leading to floods with far-reaching consequences on communities, ecosystems, and infrastructure. It is estimated that the loss associated with these natural calamities could be as high as 3% of GDP annually.
This can be addressed through investment in adaptation measures in order to have resilient communities. Judith Akolo, Prime Edition.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#.
Did you know that you have complete control over everything that surrounds you? Yes, fully control over all that comes out of the seas, the earth, and the universe. That control is your thinking. Good thoughts bear good fruits, but bad thoughts will always bear bad fruits. Control your thinking.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#. *811*961#.
Nilipoanza kukohoa, kuhisi maumivu kwa kifua,
uchovu mwilini, joto jingi mwilini, kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, kukosa hamu ya chakula na kupoteza uzito haraka. Nilipimwa hospitalini, kabainika nilikuwa na TB.
Nilianza matibabu ya TB mara moja. Nilimeza dawa zangu bila kukosa kwa muda unaofaa, kama nilivyoshauriwa na daktari.
Ugonjwa wa TB sio uchawi. Mtu yeyote yule anaweza kupatwa na ugonjwa huu. Lakini ukimeza dawa vizuri, TB inatiba.
Nilitibiwa TB, nikapona na niko sawa.
TB inatiba. Pata matibabu bila malipo katika hospitali zote za umma. Tujijali, tumalize TB. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na washirika wake.
The management, staff and students of Merishaw School wish to convey our congratulatory message to the KCPE candidates on their well-deserved success. Well done and congratulations on passing the 2021 KCPE exams.
I will take your sons in this school before I ever go for any transfer.
Guy Kinanzi, you are going to be a mambuzu.
As for you, Farah, I will find a way of dealing with you.
Your talent, dedication and hard work have led you to victory. Merishaw School, home of the boy child.
All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now we are back with the second part of this bulletin on to other stories that also made headlines tonight.
Well, all eyes will be on the Supreme Court Thursday as the 7-judge bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome issue judgment on the appeal case on the Building Bridges initiative.
Constitutional lawyers and law scholars say the judgment will shake up the country's political landscape. Ben Chumba with details of that story.
The fate of the Building Bridges Initiative BBI rests on the shoulders of the 7 judges of the Apex Court.
The other scenario, which we hope is unlikely, is to sustain the decision of the Court of Appeal, and that's to say that this Court of Appeal was right.
The other scenario would be that they will allow the appeal, meaning that they will overturn the findings of the Court of Appeal.
On Thursday, the judges will put to an end a 2-year legal battle between the promoters and opponents of the BBI.
I think I would expect that we do not have a unanimous judgment. And even if they do, then we will have some variance in terms of how they fashion the determination.
But progressive Kenyans and progressive lawyers expect that the Supreme Court will say Kenyans should have a chance to debate and amend their constitution.
The burden to determine whether a president can initiate amendments to the constitution through a popular initiative and whether the president can be sued in his personal capacity for anything done or not done while in office shall also lie on the shoulders of the judges.
We had good arguments. We had evidence to show that indeed Mwananchi was not involved. So that is my personal take, that I hope the judges saw what BBI was for real.
It has been painful. And I know I'm not the only one. I know so many other people who have suffered through this because of the way Kenya has been run since independence. And our commitment in BBI was and still is that we must build a Kenya around justice.
The judges will also rule on whether the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission was properly constituted with 3 commissioners when it processed the BBI bill and forwarded it to county assemblies. With just months before the August 9 polls, constitutional lawyers and law scholars argue that the court's decision is likely to shake up the country's political landscape and could even sway the outcome of the forthcoming general elections.
I think as a country we have moved on from the BBI's amendment of the Constitution. So if they uphold the Court of Appeal's judgment, I do not think there is any political impact. But should they choose to overturn, then definitely that will have an impact in the political projection going to the 2022 August general election.
It is a reality that all political forces recognize that the Kenya has a problem. Then the progressives say, if we have a problem, some of the problems are so fundamental that it cannot be just about administrative or political reform. Some must go to constitutional and legal reform. You mentioned law.
Both the High Court and Court of Appeal ruled the BBI was unconstitutional, for it failed to follow the sequential steps needed to trigger a constitutional amendment through a popular initiative. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Well, remember, tomorrow we shall be giving you a concise coverage of the BBI ruling straight from the Supreme Court. So stay right here.
Right, and now moving on tonight on our weekly feature, Cinemas and Theatre, our reporter Jacqueline Masharia reviews the film 40 Sticks. Take a look.
The film 40 Sticks, set in Nairobi, is a thriller story that revolves around a group of death row prisoners trapped in a crushed prison bus striving to stay alive.
The animals. One bullet for each of you.
The misery is worsened by a wild animal in the forest and a mysterious killer that lurks in the shadows. When everyone gets back to consciousness, the prison guards discovers one of the prisoners is dead. Conflict ensues on who the murderer could be, with everyone pointing fingers at each other, and the only way to survive from this unknown enemy is to keep the place lit the entire time. Directed by Victor Gatonye and produced by Faki Liwali, the film 40 Sticks symbolizes 40 life chances that the prisoners have as they light the 40 matchsticks in an effort to keep the place lit.
The theme is about freedom, actually, because it's really about a group of prisoners, most who are in a gang, trying to move away, escape from prison, but also escape from the life that they've had before. They're trying to get away so that they can start new lives away from crime.
The film stars Robert Agengo, Kajetan Boy, Mwaura Bilal, Arabon Nenik, Xavier Iwaya, Shiviske Shivinsky, and Andrew Kamau. 40 Sticks is proudly Kenyan and was produced by Sense Play in partnership with Film Studios Kenya, Binge Media, and Ogopa Inc.
On screen, people get to see 7 characters mainly, and then there's of course the other supporting characters. But we had 7 characters mainly, and a long part of the movie was being shot in a very confined space, which was the interior of the van, and we had to do that for several nights. So just being able to recreate that van and the interior all those night after night is not easy. It was about 22 days of
A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman.
So we need to start bringing out the profession in a woman. When we demonstrate, they will come when we've been tear gassed, not when we want to pass the message.
The Dada's Show is back, a show where women get to be themselves and discuss real issues.
She cannot allow other women to come on the same space because she's getting different privileges from men. So akiona mwanamke, ako like, this is a competitor.
This being an election year, we have given an opportunity to women to express themselves and share their expectations during this critical moment in our country.
The issue of corruption and how it has impacted women and children in this country.
Create jobs for the informal sector, create jobs for the youth who leave the universities.
Hatutaki bora uongozi, tunataka uongozi bora.
Keep your heels, head and standards high. Dadas coming soon.
A very good evening to you. I do hope your evening is treating you well. Let's now take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. My name is Karen Kibet. The 24th edition of the Summer Deaf Olympics is set to run from May 1st to 15th at Caxias do Sul, Brazil. The International Committee of Sports for the Deaf has released the draw for ball games, namely basketball, football, handball and volleyball. Kenya will be represented in athletics and golf. Four new players have been included in the National Rugby Sevens team that will head out to the 5th and 6th legs of this season's HSBC Sevens World Series next month. Collins Shikoli, Zidane Maro, Richel Wangila and Ben Salem will travel with the Kenyan team for the April legs to be held in Singapore and Vancouver.
Four new players have been included in the National Rugby Sevens team, which was named today by head coach Innocent Simiyu to prepare for the 5th and 6th rounds of the 2021-2022 World Rugby Sevens Series in Singapore and Vancouver. The four are former Kenya Under-20 international Richel Wangila, Zidane Maro, Collins Shikoli and Ben Salem. Wangila, Maro and Shikoli are part of the travelling party to Singapore, while Salem will link up with the team in Vancouver alongside Alvin Otieno and Timothy Masi. The team will play in Singapore between 9th and 10th and compete in Vancouver 6 days later.
Thank you, Barkley, for that report. Moving on, Floorball Kenya Federation will not be fielding any team in the forthcoming Floorball World Cup in Switzerland in November due to financial constraints. Now, according to the operational manager, Kelvin Maina, only Federation President Paul Maina and a few other officials will be traveling to Switzerland on official capacity, but they hope to have the national teams ready for the next World Cup as soon as possible. Maina further pleaded with the government to allow them to use available indoor arena for their league matches as well as prepare the national teams, saying they have been using parking areas and school basketball courts for practice, which has greatly affected their performance. Both ladies and men's team are the African champions, having won the African champions 3 years ago, held in Kenya. Bruno Fernandes scored a brace as Portugal beat North Macedonia 2-0 to qualify for the 2022 World Cup finals in Qatar. The Manchester United midfielder scored a goal in each half as Portugal qualify for the World Cup for a 6th consecutive time. In another match, Robert Lewandowski will captain his side to the Qatar World Cup after beating Sweden 2-0 in the Silesen Stadium.
Bruno Fernandes scored 2 goals for Portugal to book their place in the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. The Manchester United man scored by finishing off Cristiano Ronaldo's pass in the first half and then put the victory beyond doubt in the second, connecting with a sublime cross from Diogo Jota.
In early, Bruno Fernandes. Portugal look to be bound for Qatar. A double from Bruno Fernandes.
The victory means Portugal extend their run of qualifying for all 6 of the World Cup since the turn of the century, while Manchester United forward Ronaldo is on course for his 5th, aged 37. Elsewhere, Robert Lewandowski stroked home a second-half penalty as Poland took the lead in the...
And finally, still in football, Nigeria failed to qualify for the World Cup finals for the first time in 16 years after losing to Ghana on away goals rule last night. Meanwhile, Senegal qualified for the World Cup competition to be held in Qatar in December after beating Egypt through penalty shootouts last night.
Captain Salah was one of the 4 players to miss the first 4 penalties of a shootout.